Hey everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Startup Talks. Today we're looking at two startups, Upwest, a B2B investment infrastructure platform from Berlin, and Kupando, a biotech out of Schönefeld. We also touch on three investment funds that came up this session. First up is Upwest from Berlin. They build end-to-end investment infrastructure for banks and fintechs, custody, trading, and regulatory compliance all in one API-first platform. Their pitch is simple. Banks shouldn't have to build this from scratch.
That makes sense. Connecting to all these exchanges and banks used to take months. Now you needed serious infrastructure just to keep it running.
Exactly. Their target customers are legacy institutions, banks, brokers, wealth tech companies that are stuck on monolithic systems and can't move fast enough to launch modern retail products. The value proposition is plug in our API and you're live.
And there's clearly demand. They've processed over 100 million orders in 2025 for more than 30 financial institutions. That's not a small number.
They just closed a $125 million Series D. They also have an AI-powered advisory layer and a developer community growth strategy. Evangelists, hackathons, badges, the whole thing.
Here's my concern though. The complexity they are solving for is shrinking fast. AI has cut integration time from 6 months to a week. Companies I work with are already choosing to build in-house instead of using a processing layer.
So the moat that justified paying a middleware fee is disappearing.
Right. Their partners will eventually ask, why are we paying a processing fee when we can just do it ourselves? The Series D is probably a bet on AI agents and personalized advisory. That's their hedge.
It's a smart hedge, but they need to execute before the clients figure out they don't need the middleware anymore. Next is Kupando from Schönefeld near Berlin. They're a biotech developing Cube 101, an innate immunity therapy for solid tumors and drug-resistant infections. The technology bypasses T cells entirely and activates innate immunity instead.
Why bypass T cells?
Because in hard-to-treat cases, late-stage tumors, resistant infections, the T cells are often exhausted or non-functional. Standard immunotherapy doesn't work on those patients. Kupando's approach is designed specifically for that group.
And the technology isn't tied to a specific tumor type, so the patient population is wide. That's strategically smart.
They've raised $23 million total with a $10 million Series A, and they're entering the next clinical phase. But here's the thing, this is a completely different investment logic from software.
No LTV, no churn rate, no product market fit metrics, none of that applies.
What matters here is the quality of the research engine, how much data it can process, how good the knowledge graph is, and the institutional relationships they're building with pharma companies and clinical networks.
Biotech is the new holy grail for funds right now, after AI agents. Money will keep flowing regardless of traction because the big players, insurance companies, research centers are running their own evaluation pipelines.
It's a long game, but if the science holds up, the funding follows. The rest of the session was actually funds rather than startups, worth mentioning briefly. First, Partech Impact Fund from Paris, $300 million for climate-focused B2B companies with over $10 million in revenue.
McKinsey, Goldman Sachs, Bain Capital on the team, big names, but honestly the ESG angle doesn't do much for me.
Then there's Montis VC out of Warsaw, $50 million seed fund for deep tech in Central and Eastern Europe, energy and industrial AI specifically.
That direction I actually like. European VC is over-indexed on software and consumer apps. CEE has cheaper R&D, strong engineering talent, and real industrial infrastructure for running pilots. That's a legitimate edge. Europe's comfortable era is over. You're either competitive or you're irrelevant. Funding industrial tech in that region makes more sense than another consumer app.
And finally, Homaio from Paris, a platform that gives retail investors access to EU carbon allowances through physically backed bonds. The ETS market is about €1 trillion a year, but effectively closed to private individuals.
The mechanism is interesting. You buy a bond, you remove allowances from circulation, you get financial exposure to an institutional market, but it's belief-driven demand.
It's creating fashion around a conviction and monetizing it, which works until it doesn't.
Every fund right now is choosing a side, ESG narrative or the AI narrative.
And whoever's money you take, you're playing for their team. That's the real dynamic underneath all of this. That's all for today. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode of Startup Talks.